Hello everyone, I'm coming to you again from my office at home in Huntington Beach, California. I can look outside and see what is a really beautiful day, and I want to express my thoughts and prayers and concern for so many of you who are back east and having been subject to terrible storms and ice and snow. I'm sure it's no real treat out there for you right now. This next discussion question that we're going to be dealing with deals with a reality that anybody, certainly working in the public schools, has had to deal with, and that is the subject of standardized testing. Seems like maybe a couple decades ago, politicians got into the question of our educational system, largely because of some test scores that were published pitting students in the United States against students from other countries around the world. And there was a hue and cry because our students didn't compare all that well based on the conclusions of the researchers who conducted these tests. Well, it became a political issue, and suddenly educators who were closest to this subject area were suddenly being told that they were going to have to make changes, make improvements, and these things became part of the rallying cry for a number of politicians with regards to their plans and how that platform would help them get elected. Well, it's a reality now. We face testing every single year at all levels of school. This question and this prompt really deals with the question of two very important factors, reliability and validity. Just what do these numbers tell us when you open the newspaper, usually every spring, and read what the newspaper has reported about test scores for schools where you work and where you live? So I want to talk about these two issues, reliability and validity. These definitions can be found in the Grattan and Jones second edition starting on page 92. Excuse me. All right, what is reliability? Basically, reliability deals with the fact that if you create a measure or give a test that from each time it's introduced or used, you could feel like you're going to get similar results. Grattan and Jones have a great little example. I live in Southern California, so let's try this one. We want to find out marketing habits of people who go to Angels baseball games. So we create a survey and we ask things like, what is your age? What is your income level? Who did you come here with today? Did you bring family? And did you stop by the gift shop or the pro shop on the way out? As a marketer, I want to know this information. I want to know level of income. Who spends the most? How much is spent inside the gift store? And how might I increase business? So on my first trial with my survey, I find that 71% of the people surveyed stopped by the gift shop and purchased something, or at least looked at something. Pretty encouraging result. So a couple weeks later, I go back and I administer the same questionnaire. Only this time, I find that 50% of my subjects visited the gift shop or the pro shop. Which is a correct measure? One of the things I really like about this class is that we think critically about information we get. So as I looked at this example, I thought about a couple of factors, variables, that could affect the responses from my subjects. For instance, if I administered the first survey on the second day of the month, is it not more likely that the people who responded yes, they'd stop by, just received their monthly paycheck and their accounts were full and they had a little bit of money and maybe something that they could spend and use as play money? Was it a day game or a night game? Night games, usually, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Family wants to get the kids home. They're not as likely to stop by the gift shop on their way out after the ball game. How about this one? A Saturday day game. Albert Pujols hits a home run in the bottom of the ninth. Would you be more likely to stop by the gift shop and pick up that Pujols jersey for your son or daughter on the way out? You have the time, it's the right time of the month, and you have the money. So there are a number of variables that can affect the reliability of the test that you give, and any good researcher needs to control for those types of variables. Or give multiple tests and then see how those results vary and make sure you report those other factors. Now the second big issue in testing is validity. And validity basically is defined as asking, how do I know that the measure I'm using is really measuring what I want to measure, and are my conclusions drawn from that valid? I mentioned to you last time the little book called The Numbers Game, and the authors there, who are British, gave a great little example. A few years back, an International Testing Institute, some study, reported that German school children performed better in a test of mathematics than British school children. Well, as it happens, politicians in Britain and England became very concerned about this. How could their students compare so poorly against students from Germany? It wasn't until researchers took a look at the actual test that they realized that in the case of the German students, the curriculum they receive, the kind of training they get, emphasizes much more theoretical work in terms of mathematics. And so on questions like algebraic equations, substituting symbols for numbers, the German students did very well. The British kids, however, did much better on practical applications for math. They were much more facile at figuring out, let's say, square footage of a room with irregular sides. Who's better in math? And how do you know? So reliability and validity are two questions that we're going to ask you about in this discussion question. We want you to put some thought into those two things to respond to the prompt and ask, how is it that one school, School B, might not be as highly ranked as School A, and yet, in fact, actually perform just about as well? Okay? I hope this helps you. I hope this little review can give you some insight into it. In fact, I'm going to give you one more example. When we talk about the validity of a test, I've often read students who are concerned about vertical leap. That's really important in the sport of volleyball. It's important in the sport of basketball, and certainly track and field if you're a high jumper. And so many people propose that certain types of exercises, certain types of drills, can improve vertical leap. What I'd read, however, was some students intend to measure vertical leap by having the subject stand in a stationary position next to a tall pole that has, if you will, horizontal flags on it. And what the subject does is jumps as high as he or she possibly can, slaps at those flags, and then the researcher simply looks up, sees the measure in terms of the number on the next flag up, and says, you've jumped X number of feet. Now, as I look at that as a measurement of vertical leap, I wonder, does that really measure vertical leap, or perhaps the wingspan, if you will, of a student with long arms and long legs? Presumably, a person who was 5'10" is not going to jump as high on those flags or hit those flags as a person who's 6'3". Wouldn't the actual test of vertical leap have to deal with the difference between the bottom of my foot and the floor that I jump off of, and measuring that as a measure of vertical leap? If I report that this slap test has shown gains amongst my students, have I mixed tall students with short students, students who've done the drill or not? How valid can those results be if that's how I'm going to test a measure of vertical leap? So those are a few examples for you. I hope this little video helps, and I'll be checking in again with you later when we talk about association and causation, a really thrilling topic. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.